Welcome to the Ebb and Glow podcast. I'm your host, Jenelle Tremblett, and I'm a firm believer that even when life doesn't go as planned, it is taking you exactly where you're meant to be. On this podcast, I'm here to help you finally release control of what you think you want and begin to just trust in the ebbs and flows of life. Each week, I will show you how to build that positive mindset, radiate with self-confidence, and cultivate an unshakable resilience. Let me prove to you that even when life ebbs, you will glow. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Ebb and Glow podcast. I'm so happy you're here because you are going to love today's episode. Today's guest is one of my best girlfriends, Liz Salzman, and I am thrilled that she is here. She's such a natural. She used to work in radio, and obviously with her being one of my closest friends, the dynamic of this episode is fun, light, and full of amazing advice and insight. So today's episode, we chat all things entrepreneurship, mindset, confidence, and my favorite, manifesting. Liz is one of the absolute best manifestors that I know. And I remember when I first met her, she was just like the type of person that's always like glowing and has like really good energy. And she's the type of person that when she wants something, even if it doesn't make any sense that that can be a possibility, give her a week, give her a month, it'll be done. Like it's so fun to watch, and I've always admired that about her. When I met Liz, her life is very different now than it was 3 years ago. Nothing crazy happened, but I find that Liz, even though she always had it in her, she finally had the self-belief to start going after everything she wanted in life. Like I said, she has that inherent manifesting energy. I feel maybe she just finally started acting on it, but I love watching her grow her business today and her studio, and you're just going to be able to hear it in her voice that if you really want something in life, you really just have to go for it, and all the other pieces will fall into place. So a little bit insight into who Liz is. Liz Salzman is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, photographer, studio owner, and one of my closest friends. She is originally from Montreal and now lives in Toronto, and that's where we met. So if you are interested in any sort of brand photography and you live in Toronto or in the outside area, then Liz is definitely the person that you want to get to take your photos, because she's taken all of my photos and I always feel so confident and beautiful when she photographs me. Also, the funny thing I will say about Liz that I always mention to her, she is one of my friends that's a Scorpio, and yeah, I always say she never acts like a Scorpio. She never gives me Scorpio vibes. It's so funny. Maybe I don't know her as well as I think I do. I'm just kidding. Anyways, without further ado, I hope you loved today's episode, and if you do, please make sure to share it with a friend so that they can gain value as well. Okay, enjoy. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm not much of a Scorpio, huh?
No, I don't think you are. I always say I think your Leo stands out the most.
It definitely does. The moon sign always.
What's your rising again?
Gemini.
Right. I find the Leo and Gemini stand out most.
Yeah, for sure.
And I find all of my close friends and like people I've dated, everything has Gemini somewhere in their chart.
That is so interesting.
Like in the big three. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But I think like I don't have many Scorpio friends. I don't even have many like water sign friends.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. What parts of you do you think is more Scorpio?
I don't know. I feel like I'm like a sleuth, like I'm very Nancy Drew. And I feel like that's a very Scorpio quality. Like I can figure out absolutely anything anytime, and like no one will know, but I'll know everything.
Yeah. Oh my God. When I realized you ended up getting COVID the other week, all I could think was, oh my God, that girl is not going to want to just sit and be sick for a couple weeks. I felt for you.
I was having such a rough time because I hate sitting and doing nothing. Like I always need to do something, and it's usually for work because I love working. And so I was just sitting there and literally unable to do anything at all. Like I couldn't even look at my computer for 5 minutes. I was stressing out about it, which made it even worse. It was like a week straight of not being able to do a thing.
And I mean, being an entrepreneur and making your own money, that is extremely stressful.
It was so stressful because I had a week. Of course, it always happens this way. I had a week where I had so many things to do, whether it was like clients or appointments, like just so much. I packed it all into that one week. And that week I had to reschedule everything from like months later. So, oh my God, it was very, very stressful.
What do you think the universe is telling you?
To slow the fuck down. And
Seriously.
just like, yeah, just put less pressure probably on everything.
Well, I remember when I texted you, you were like, oh my God, I have so much to do. It has to get done at this time. And I was like, that's all arbitrary.
That was probably exactly what I needed to hear, like for this whole year. I'm so focused on like getting shit done and just having like a timeline and needing to get through these things. And I put a lot of pressure on these things, but like, who's actually making up that timeline? No one. I don't have to do anything at any set time. So that was really good to hear.
Well, I used to put so much pressure on myself to get the podcast out. I used to put my episodes out on Mondays, and I used to be so stressed out every Sunday night thinking, okay, well, this episode has to be scheduled and ready to go live by midnight going into a Monday. So there was many weeks I'd be up till like 11:59 p.m. and almost like racing towards a deadline. And then one day I just woke up and thought, I could put my episodes on Tuesdays instead.
Yeah. No,
and not have to throw away every Sunday night. And so I just switched the schedule.
And also, I feel like nobody actually pays attention the same way we do to our own stuff. Like, no one cares if it's out like an hour later than we thought it was supposed to be out. No one cares.
Literally, no one notices. And I've noticed that about myself lately. A few weeks ago, I put myself on like this new schedule of like how much content I'm getting out. And then the other week, I just like, the same amount of content did not get published as I wanted to. And it's like, okay, who cares?
Yeah. We just put all this pressure on ourselves, but for what? It just ends up stressing us out when like it actually doesn't matter.
But there's such a fine line of holding yourself accountable and not stressing yourself out to get something done that's actually arbitrary. And it's like, it's hard to decipher where that line is.
It is hard, especially as someone who's like working for themselves and like you don't really have anyone telling you what needs to be done when. I do find that sometimes I'll get like a little bit lazy and I'll sit on the couch, watch TV and be like, oh, it's fine. I'll get it done tomorrow. But then I push it off a little too much and I end up getting things done like way too late. And it's like, I could have really done this if I stopped procrastinating.
Where do you think the procrastination comes from?
The procrastination comes from, I don't know, actually.
A lot of coaches and spirituality people say that procrastination is actually part of the ego that actually wants to self-sabotage us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard that recently.
I totally believe that. I mean, I just find myself like sitting on the couch and like I know I have all this stuff to do, but then I'll go on Instagram and I'll scroll for an hour for like nothing. And it's like, yeah, I'm self-sabotaging because I don't know. It's like, I don't believe that I can have the success that I want. So I'll just, put it off.
But it's interesting that you can even let that thought get into your head because I met you, January of 2019. So over 3 years ago. And what your life looked like then and what it looks like now, two very completely different lives. I wouldn't say people, but your situation and your reality is very different.
Oh, completely different. I was a different person, I really feel like, when I met you.
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I just have like this very like clairvoyant intuition. So maybe the person that you are now is the one that I always saw. Maybe you just didn't see it.
Huh.
Because you seem the same to me, but I can see what you say where, yeah, I can see how some actions and some things you did like 3 years ago. Yeah, it's very different than what you do today, but it's like, it feels like the same person to me.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I guess I was the same person, but I've grown a lot. I've put a lot of effort into like self-growth and like the decisions I make now, I would never have made them, 3 years ago. And even like the confidence I have moving forward with my business, like I didn't have that then.
It's still so crazy to me how you've only been a photographer full-time for a year.
I know.
I was telling you the moment I met you to go full-time with photography.
I know. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that it was possible to make a full-time income on something I loved. I didn't believe it. And I was a photographer. I've been one for 9 years. I started 9 years ago in weddings on the weekends. I would do weddings every weekend as like an assistant. And then on the side, I would do lifestyle photo shoots here and there. I'd work with influencers. But I always said, no, this is only going to be part-time. Like I never even thought for it to be a full-time job. I'm like making excuses like, oh no, I'm just going to hate it if I do it full-time. But really it's because I don't know. I think I was just scared.
And you just didn't really believe in yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back then I didn't. I mean, I was doing so many different things back then that I don't know. It was tough for me to stick to one thing.
Were you scared that going full-time with photography would end up becoming boring for you? Yeah, you're used to doing so many different things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was scared that I would get bored because I love to do a lot of different things. I have a lot of different interests, and I feel like I get bored when I'm stuck in the same routine. So yeah, I was scared, but I realized, yes, it's the same thing, but I have complete control over what I do. I can create new packages or work with different clients. Like that's all up to me. And I can switch it up whenever I want, but I'm still doing something I love and I'm still working for myself. So I didn't realize that until, only about like 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Yeah, you're getting the variety, knowing that you can wake up every day and create different offerings or create different ways of doing photography, or you have a new client. So it feels like a new job again, but it's still the same thing that's constant.
Yeah.
You and I are very similar like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Like with real estate, I'm doing the same process and the same deal, but it's like I'm viewing new places every single time. It's a whole different client. I made a joke to a friend of a friend the other day, and I'm like, I could wear the same outfit every single day because I'm actually with a new client every day and they have no idea. And it keeps it fun.
Yeah, I have like a uniform, I call it. Like I have like a few different outfits that like I love that I wear for work, and no one knows that it's, the same kind of outfit.
And it takes the pressure off. Like there's so many other things that we have to think about all day long. And it's like, I don't want to think about the outfit part.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So let's get this straight for the audience. You were a photographer for 8 years before you finally went full-time with that.
Yep.
That's insane. Like truly insane.
Yeah. But when I started, I was, I guess, 17. So I was still in school. I was doing a bunch of other things at the time. So back then it would never have made any sense. When I moved here, I think I was 22 when I moved here. That's when I did a little bit more of it, and I wanted to make that more of a focus.
What do you think changed? I mean, I was on your ass all the time to go full time. So what's that day you just wake up and you're like, I'm doing it?
The pandemic.
Why though?
I was actually very lucky throughout the pandemic. I found a lot of people were starting online businesses throughout that time because, they couldn't go into work. So they were starting businesses and they needed marketing material. They needed photos. And so they came to me. And I started a new niche, I guess, of branding photography for women entrepreneurs. And it blew up in 2020. It absolutely blew up. So that's when I realized wow, first of all, branding photography, that is my favorite thing because I love working with other entrepreneurs, and it just kept flowing. I kept getting people reach out to me, and it never stopped, and it kept growing. And I was like, you know what? I actually could do this full time. And so that's what happened.
And that's when when the money comes so easily and it just feels so effortless, you realize oh, okay, maybe this is what I should be doing.
Exactly. It kept coming and I was so happy.
Yeah, that's when you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some of the jobs you did before where you really weren't happy. We described you as multi-passionate. It's very true. You have done so many jobs since I've known you. And I mean, so have I, but you always found another job or another contract or another type of project to work on, but you just never really liked any of them.
No.
Why?
Yeah, There were so many things that I've done, and I really always just wanted to try new things to see what it is I actually like and don't like. Like, I would just want to try something new all the time. So, my first ever job was a princess for birthday parties. That was fun because I got to, do the music thing, do the acting thing. And then I ended up owning the company when my boss decided to sell it. So that was like my first entrepreneurship kind of experience. And then I was a music teacher for elementary schools, which I wanted to try because I loved music and I had the training. Then I did makeup artistry, went to school for makeup, did makeup. I love being creative. In the end, wasn't for me. Social media management, and then radio. Radio was the one thing I did stick with for quite a while. That was 5 years of doing events, marketing, and on-air hosting. And I did love that a lot. And I think when I moved here, I quit that job and I got another job in radio here in Toronto. But my circumstances kind of changed. I met some people, got into a whole new, I ended up going into music management. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go away from radio. But I thought my path was radio and entertainment. And, you never know who you're going to meet that's going to change that path. And that's what happened for me.
And you did a lot of influencer marketing work?
Yeah, lots of influencer marketing work.
A lot of just like talent management.
Yeah, talent management was huge for me. And that's what I did when I moved here because of who I met. Started with the music industry, realized that was not for me. It was a little too hectic for me. And then started with influencers. And then that kind of tied into the photography. Influencers also needed photography.
What I've always loved about you that I've always noticed is you have a knack for manifesting. You always have. Like, it just always seems that everything works out.
I always say, like, I think I've been manifesting since I was a little kid. Like, I've always had such a strong belief in myself that whatever I wanted, I was going to get. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how that happened, but I can just remember, like, as a kid thinking like, oh, that's going to happen for me. Like, I just know it. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. And it always did. And my friends, they would always be like, but how do you know? I'm like, I just do. Like, watch, it's going to happen. And it always did. And I don't know how or why.
Like, I just find whenever you put something like, I don't want to say on a vision board, but whenever you're like set your mind on something like, I want that place, I want that guy, I want that job, I'm going to live there, it happens.
I wish I could explain it, but that's, I guess, the power of manifesting. I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
I speak it into existence. I start living as if that's there for me. It's like in escrow, I call it. It's like, It's there, it's waiting for me, it's coming. And I just live as if it's on its way. And that kind of brings it closer to you.
But what I don't get is, and I said this when you did this, what I don't get is you've always had a strong belief in yourself. You've always been good at manifesting, but you still felt that you had to go hire coaches. Why?
Because I feel like it's hard to do everything on your own. Like, as an entrepreneur, being the only one in it and not having someone to like speak to that's also kind of in it with me, that's really hard for me. When I first hired my first coach, she was a manifestation and mindset and business coach. I found that I really wanted to work a little bit more on my mindset. Like, what she was speaking about just really spoke to me. And so I hired her and it really did help. Like, yes, I knew how to manifest already, but there was just a lot more with the whole mindset world that like I felt like I could do better at. And from working with her, like, I was able to do so much more than I think I would have been able to do alone. Like, just having someone to also bounce ideas off of is so valuable to me. So I've worked with 2 coaches. I'm working with my second one this is our 3rd round of 3 months. So I've been working with her for 7 months now. And yeah, that's more strategy. But I just find like having someone that's kind of in it with you that can help you out and not make you feel like so alone is so helpful.
Yeah, especially even though you have clients and you're with people when you're doing your photography, it's still easy to feel very lonely as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it is. It's very easy to feel lonely.
And especially when you're creating things, but it hasn't taken off yet, you're wondering, what is this all for?
Yeah. And if something doesn't take off the way you expect it to, it can be easy to give up on it and be like, oh, well, it just doesn't work. oh, well, I'll move on to the next thing. But like having a coach there that's like, no, don't worry about it. It's good. It's going to work out. Just keep going, and actually helping you through it is so helpful.
I remember when you told me the cost of the first time you did coaching, my jaw dropped. I almost had a heart attack for you.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a lot. Like I think
The big investment.
Since September 2020, I have spent $30,000 in coaching. Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of money to a lot of people that are listening to this, but no different than buying a car, no different than saving up for a down payment, no different than investing in a business, no different than going to get a degree.
Well, this is investing in my business. Like I completely see this as investing in my business. I think there's for sure been a return on that. And if you think about it, like there are so many different courses or guides that you can spend $100 on, $200 on. But is that really going to propel you forward and make a lasting change? You kind of have to put skin in the game. You have to spend the money. You have to invest the money to get the return.
And do you find the type of person that you are, you'll hold yourself accountable if you invest money into it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, the amount of money I have spent on small courses and guides and things like that, hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of dollars. I haven't even looked at them.
I know. You've sent me them before. And I'm like, did you even read any of these?
oh my gosh.
Well, that's what I said to you. And I was like, you invested into coaching. I said, I'm pretty sure you've already like bought all of these courses. Like you already buy these books. Like, why don't you just go that route? But now we know like the way you hold yourself accountable is when you invest amount of money that scares you a bit.
Yes. And with the one-on-one support.
Yeah, you love one-on-one support.
That's important to me. It is hard for me to focus on one thing by myself. You know, I didn't go to university. I didn't really go to school, and school is not the way that I learn. I kind of need a more tailored approach to me, and I do well with self-learning, but having someone there with me that can guide me through it is really helpful. So yeah, I definitely recommend that.
You dropped the number 30 grand in about a year and a half. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So tell me, where is the ROI? Where has the ROI shown so far?
It's hard to put like a real number on it, and like it's hard to say, but I just know that like the way that I view myself and my business, the confidence I have with it, that energy can be felt to others. And that I think is like what is drawing people to me, is the energy that I give off now. And if I was like, you know, going about my days like all negative and like, oh, no one's going to want to work with me, like people are going to feel that. And I'm not going to get as much work. So the work that I did with my coach was really a lot about mindset. And I now just know like, yeah, it's all going to come. It's all going to come. I'm going to get my clients. My dream clients are going to work with me, and they're attracted to that energy. So because of that work that we did in that coaching container, my energy's completely shifted. Same with the strategy coach, like just so much has gone into like building out new packages and thinking of how to make more money, or like budgeting, just all sorts of different things that, you know, if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have done that on my own.
No, of course. Now, when you think back specifically to the mindset coaching that you did, what are some things that come to mind that you're like, that's exactly what I got from working with her? Or one thing can happen and you're like, nope, my mindset's a lot different now. Before I would have reacted this way, but now I see it this way. Like, what are some examples?
Well, one example is if, you know, a client comes back and says, oh, you know, like, I actually don't want to work with you, or your prices are too high. I used to get really upset by that. Or maybe I would, you know, say, oh, well, I could do it for this price. Or if someone asks me to lower my rates, now I don't even that night. It's like, okay, that's totally fine. No worries. Like, I don't feel a negative way about it. Like, that's totally fine. They're just, you know, we're not for each other, and that's okay. And then I would keep going about my day, and I'd still be kind of happy. Before, I definitely would have hurt me, and it would have affected my energy, and I would have felt like I'm not good enough. And that was not good, obviously. So that's definitely been something that's changed.
The previous you would have bent over backwards to still get that client, but not because you needed the client, but just to make them happy.
Yeah, like the people pleasing too.
Yeah. And it's like, then you get a client that's really paying half of what your time is valued at. And then you're going to just feel resentment and guilt. You're not going to love the photos. You're not going to love editing them. And it's just like, it's just all a bad vibe.
It always happens that way. I still do that once in a while. If I really want to work with a client, and I'll make some, adjustments, but I always end up regretting it because I do feel some sort of resentment towards it. Either they don't respect me. It all comes down to respect, I think. So.
Yeah, I feel that. I've had that stuff, and I should have just trusted my first intuition about things.
Yeah. Trusting your gut, trusting your intuition. That is key.
Mm-hmm. What sparked you to, I feel like very, very typical Liz. Once you get rolling on one thing, you go full speed ahead. So you go full time with photography this time last year. A few months later, you open your own commercial studio space. You didn't think one cliff jumping was enough?
No, that's exactly it. When I'm feeling something, I'm like just going with it. I don't stop. So I went full time, I think in February with photography. And then in April, I decided to get a studio. Listen, things were going really well with the photography side. And I just wanted a home base for my photography. I wanted a place where, other people can rent it out as well, where people can feel creative, where I can feel creative. I just wanted a home base. So
what scared you about making those leaps though? Maybe specifically the studio leap.
Well, I will say that if something scares me, I run towards it. That's always something I think about. Am I terrified of this? Okay, great. Let's do it. So that's kind of what I did.
Were you always like that though?
Always.
Yeah.
I've always been like that. That's why, my move to Toronto was pretty terrifying. That's why I did it. I always know that if I'm scared of something, it's for a reason. It's because there's growth there.
That's where we always connect, where me and you are the first, any one of our friends complains, gives us the slightest complaint about our job. Me and you are like, quit.
Yeah, quit. Leave. Easy.
if we had $1 for every time we said the word quit to our friend, because you and I have quit so many things. We don't even look back.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're really unapologetic with that.
Yeah. But for the studio, what was actually really scary about it was that I had no clue what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to do well. I honestly didn't even budget for it much. I didn't know. I was just doing it. So that was scary going into this, not really having any help, not having someone working beside me on it. I had no clue what to expect.
What I always think about, and I think what would scare a lot of people, is when you were first living in Toronto, just for some context with people, you were living with family. So you didn't really have a rent payment. Your only bill was your phone and your parking spot and your car insurance and stuff. And then all of a sudden you jumped into a brand new apartment, which was a pretty expensive apartment. And then within 6 months later, you were renting a commercial studio. Then you had to furnish the whole place because it's set up like a photography studio. So it's huge. You had literally no expenses. And then your monthly expenses got really expensive. That would scare the shit out of most people. That wouldn't even make logical sense to most people. But you just had an inner knowing that this will all work out.
Yeah, I went from $0 in rent to $5,000 between the two places. Terrifying.
And you're just going full time with your business. So with photography. So you're I don't even know what kind of money is going to come in.
Yeah. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I just kind of, again, had this belief that it was going to work out. And not that I wasn't doing any work for it to work out. Obviously I was working hard to get it all to work, but I didn't stress that much about it. It's I'm going to make it work.
So what do you stress about?
I
know you well enough to know I know that you stress about things, but for anyone listening right now, they're like, damn, she has a pretty good life. Damn, she seems manifest everything.
I
know you stress.
Have my moment. I will say this, I think it also lines up with my cycle, to be honest. A week or two a month where, oh boy, I am stressed. I'm oh my God, it's not going to work out. Nothing's going to work. And then I get over that and I'm I'm fine. But I stress that the clients aren't going to come in. The money's not going to come in. No one's perfect. I can't be happy and positive and excited about things like 24/7. It's just not realistic. I get in the slumps, but yeah, I do get nervous about those things. It doesn't always last that long. I kind of have to remember it's all going to be fine. I'm just, the business can't roll in 24/7 or else I won't be able to catch up. There has to be those slower times. 1 week I might get no clients. The next week I might get 10. Like that's just the way it works.
And it takes a very specific person to be able to handle those roller coasters of highs and lows. Yeah, where it's like there's no ceiling on your income or potential. But I mean, the risk that comes with that is, there might be months you make no money. I don't think there will be for you, but it's still a risk.
Yeah. Like there's a few months of the year for photography where things do slow down and it's very scary. Like Q1 was tough for me. I made less than I was hoping, but that's just normal, I think, for my industry. But it was pretty terrifying. It is hard to keep the faith that things are going to work out. I mean, I just look at like last year was great. So
I think if year over year, like if you compare this Q1 to last year's Q1, as long as that's higher and going in the trajectory that you want, then you're okay. Because you can't compare Q1 to Q2. They're very different seasons.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, like Q2 and Q3 are probably very big for you, like most industries.
Exactly. Yeah. Q4 is actually busy.
Yeah, because fall,
December, but October, November is definitely busy.
Yeah, but Q1 is slow, Jan, Feb.
Yeah. Very slow.
Yeah. So when you're in those times where you're thinking, I don't know if the money is going to come in, I'm kind of nervous, it's a slow quarter, what do you do daily? I mean, you did all the mindset coaching. So what are those actual things that you do to get you through those times?
Well, journaling is big. I haven't done it in a while, but that is something that really helps me is to just journal, like just start writing and just see what comes out. And that I find just really helps put things into perspective. Because I was telling you this morning. Yeah, when you're thinking thoughts, like other thoughts can get in your brain and it's not like reality, I guess. But when you write things down, like you can't lie to yourself that way. Like your thoughts are out there. Like there are no other thoughts that can creep in. Like it's on paper, it's there. So journaling is really helpful to kind of realize like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And then how can I kind of move forward knowing that I feel this way, but want to feel a different way.
Journaling is a tactical thing, but someone listening right now is thinking, oh my God, I literally don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. I have this big dream of mine, but I don't really have the confidence to do anything about it. And I mean, you used to be that person that was thinking that. You're a very different person right now. So it's like, what had to happen in between?
Mm-hmm. Talking to people that have lives that I want, people that are in a place that I want to be, just asking questions, connecting with people. Again, like you can't do it all alone. You just can't. You need to hear things from other perspectives. Sometimes you need advice, but you just need to talk to people and see how they're doing it and see that, not everything is easy. But like, how can I also get what you have, or how can I get close to what I want? Yeah, talking to people is important and just connecting with people in your field.
I remember you and I talked about this before about the possibilities being expanded. So there was one time in my life, I thought making 100K in a year was very hard to achieve. And now it's like, no, that's kind of the norm. Like everyone around me kind of makes that kind of money. Like we're at that stage now. And I know you and I talked one time, we're like making 10 grand in a month or 10 grand in a couple of weeks. Like that seems crazy. And then you hit it. And it's like, you're constantly expanding your mind. And I find, and tell me if you believe the same thing, it's like finding that goal that seems so crazy, huge and unachievable. And for me, finding someone who's already done it.
Yeah.
So what right now would be like a crazy goal where you still haven't wrapped your mind around that it might be possible yet?
I think 50K a month.
And does that, even saying that out loud, is that like, ooh, like that seems crazy? Or are you getting your mind wrapped around it?
I think that it's possible for me.
Yeah.
It might not be possible with what I have going on right now, just because I am limited with my time. But eventually I do want to introduce like digital products and find ways that I can grow my income that I don't really have to do as much. I think it's possible, but yeah, I would never have thought it would be possible last year. There's
But it
no
still scares
way.
you.
I was like, yeah, it's still scary. But I think, yeah, the more I talk to people who have that, my mind is expanded. I'm like, oh my God, it's like actually possible. Like you can actually do that.
Yeah. I mean, you are the people that you surround yourself with, the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You are those people. If money and raising your income is very important to you, you need to look at the income of people that you surround yourself with, because you are putting a ceiling on your energy and potential. So your close friends don't have to be millionaires, but if they aren't, and that's what you want in life, you need to be listening to podcasts. You need to be being in masterminds with people so you can have access to those types of people and know that it's possible. But it's also what I really want to talk to you about is your network is your net worth. And I find one thing that you are exceptional at is building community. And you've always been that way.
Yeah, it's very important to me to build community and just connection in general, and helping other women connect with other women who are doing things that they want to do, or just other like-minded women. That's very important to me, because that's the only way we're going to grow is, again, if we're connecting with others. So with my studio, it's called Amica Studio, but Amica Collective is just like a part of it, where we hold like events, networking, co-working days, with the main goal just to connect people together. Whatever happens from there, as long as like people are meeting each other, growing their networks, you never know what's going to happen when you meet people. Like you never know who they can connect you with. You know, maybe you'll become friends and lifelong friends, or have a business connection. You just never know. So that's very, very important to me. It always has been.
What you're describing right now, someone's thinking, yeah, but these girls are extroverts. Like they can do that. They can have the community. They can meet tons of people. But let me remind everyone that Liz is not an extrovert. Far from it.
Absolutely not. Far from it.
No one who does, like someone who doesn't know you would never know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, but definitely an introvert. I can go to a party and just want to leave like really quickly. Like
I've brought Liz to parties before. I don't know if she talked to anyone. So I bring other friends instead. Liz doesn't like to be there.
I have my moments. I have my moods, but yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess I just
what I'm asking, I guess, is how do you build community and networks when you're an introverted person?
I think, if events, being in person with people isn't your thing, that is not the only way to network. I think there's this misconception of networking where it's like, it's got to be at networking events. That's always what I thought it was. And so I never did it. And then I realized you can meet people on Instagram. Why not? Just send a message, like connect with them that way. And, have like a virtual coffee chat if you want one-on-one. There are so many different ways that you can connect with someone. It doesn't have to be in person. You can send an email asking questions, or even, this is something I always thought of doing. I might do it in the future, but having a blog where I can interview like other entrepreneurs. This is same like a podcast, but for me, who's a little more introverted, I think a blog would suit me better. But a blog where I can interview other entrepreneurs and like connect with them that way, like that's an option too.
Yeah, so true. So many people think, like meeting people, you had to be in person at parties, at events. And it's like, no, like there's so many people with online communities that have never met in their lives and who are getting so many forms of connection and like filling that void in their life of connection. So yeah, it's very possible.
I have a friend who was talking to me about that. She's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do for work. I have no idea. And I was like, well, go on Instagram. And she's like, I don't even have Instagram. No one's going to want to follow me. I'm like, you know what? Get an Instagram, post things that you like, whatever, or don't, but follow people that inspire you and, get connected with them, like comment on their stuff, respond to their stories, like just kind of learn from them that way. That's a good start.
Yeah, so true. Last couple questions for you. What's scaring you about your business moving forward? Like where in your head do you feel that you still have to work on your mindset a little bit?
Mindset is something you never stop working on. It's like a constant thing. I do need to work more on believing in myself that I'm going to attract my dream clients. Lately, I've been scared of like not bringing in the work that I want and not bringing in enough work to support my lifestyle. And that's been really scary for me. And so I've been holding myself back from doing things to get that. So that is something I need to work on, holding the faith that it's going to happen and, keep working at my goals. Yeah, I mean, that's what's kind of scaring me right now.
What else? Like what else are you struggling with these days? It can't all be perfect.
No, it definitely can't be perfect.
I know you have a lot of other aspiring photographers reaching out to you now saying, oh, what you do is what I want to do. So what do you find is maybe holding them back, or what do you see in people that's stopping them from going after what they really want?
Yeah, it's the confidence. I think it's the confidence that they can do it and that they are good enough and that they can achieve their dreams. Confidence is a huge thing. I'll have entrepreneurs and other photographers reach out to me like, how did you do it? How did you do that? And I said, really, it's just about believing that you can. Obviously, you have to be good at your craft and work at it, but it's believing that you are capable and that you can do it. That's what I find a lot of people are reaching out to me about. But one thing I just remembered that I'm actually very stressed about lately is that there's so much on my want to do list that it's kind of crowding my brain a little bit, and it's stressing me out because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I need to do, but it's not actually a need to do. It's a want to do, but it's like, there's just so much on that list that it's like, I should be doing it all. I should be doing more, and I'm not. But yeah, that's been stressing me out.
And it's also, I mean, I have the exact same list. I have both you and I use Trello, and I have a section of Trello. It's like future projects, future ideas. And I look at the list and I add to it more and more all the time. And I'm like, it seems scary to even start one of those projects. And when, and is there going to be an ROI behind it? And,
Yeah, and you put so much pressure on yourself. I'm working so hard on releasing the pressure from everything that I do. And honestly, I'm trying to make things easy. That's a focus for me now, is to make things easy, because it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be hard. It gets to be easy. Like, I just want things to be easy and fun and light in what I do.
And flowy.
Yeah.
What's on that big list of the want to do's? What's a couple that's really exciting you?
I want to make some new presets. I want to make some guides, a course. Oh, there's so much. I want to have a blog. Yeah, writing blog posts, that excites me. That's something I really want to do.
About photography, about entrepreneurship, about what?
Honestly, anything that comes to my mind. Probably a mix of entrepreneurship and photography, but mainly entrepreneurship. That's what I love to talk about.
But you already have a great email list built up. So why don't you just almost write like little newsletter, like diary kind of things, and just
send it
weekly? Yeah,
that's exactly what I want to do. But it's kind of on my want to do list because there's so much I need to do that sometimes it's hard to sprinkle it in. But one step at a time, I'll focus on one thing each quarter, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it.
Maybe hire some help.
As an entrepreneur, it's hard. And I was talking to someone else about this the other day. It's hard to decipher and split your time between working in your business and on your business. Because in your business, going to make you money today. On your business, going to take a lot of work today, but it's going to set me up for the future. But I spend a lot of time on that, and it's no ROI today. And when you're working for yourself, it's very scary to know where to spend your time.
It's very scary. That's why I've started doing, like, once a week, I have my CEO days where that's where I'm working on the business. Like, I'm doing everything I need to do to get it to run smoothly, rather than doing the photography or doing the bookings. Like, I'm really working on the back end of my business. That's helped me so much, is dedicating one full day to that. I can't tell you how much work I've got done. Oh my gosh. Yeah, highly recommend, like, setting aside time for that.
Last couple of questions for you. So one question, if I was sitting here with you at the end of this year, so let's think we're almost done 4 months of the year. We have 8 months left. If I'm sitting with you December 31st, 2022, what has to change today so that your life then looks like what you actually want to look like?
I really need to put more time into working on my business. I noticed lately in the past few months, I have really procrastinated quite a lot, which is fine and can't always be work. But I think I really do need to sit down and actually work on it and create a plan and strategize a little more. I'm very go with the flow. Like I live my life, 2-3 months at a time max. Like
that's a lot in my opinion.
So my coach is telling me like, okay, what are we doing next year? I'm like, I can't think more than 2 months in advance. Like I
think 2 months is a lot. I don't even know what's happening next week.
I need to plan it out a little bit more and actually kind of stick to it just to get to where I want to be.
It almost sounds like you're having trouble taking that big goal and making it into like bite-sized amounts.
Yes. Yeah. I struggle with that.
Yeah. Because it's like you already know what the end goal is and what you want it to look like, but you're like, shit, I don't actually know what I got to do today though.
Yeah. But it's always this thing that like, I don't know, should I actually strategize or should I keep going with the flow like I've been doing my whole life? Like it's this weird thing. Like, I don't know what I should be doing.
There has to be a mix.
Yeah, there has to be a mix, but there's no like right way to do entrepreneurship. So to each his own, like, I don't know.
Last question for you. Think of Liz right before she went into photography full time and right before she opened up her own studio. The person that's listening to this today and they're in your shoes where you were a year ago, what advice does that person need to take the leap?
Just do it. Once you leave that job and start working on yourself, you don't have anything to really fall back on. It has to work. You have to make it work. You won't be as motivated to make it work unless that's all you're doing.
Liz, where can everyone find you who doesn't already follow you?
You can find me on Liz Salzman Photo on Instagram or amicastudio.to on Instagram, lizsalzman.com. And yeah, that's me.
And anyone who has seen my podcast cover photo or any of the photos on either the podcast or my real estate website, Liz is the one who's taken all of those photos. So I can speak very highly of her photography skills. So if you are in Toronto or ever come to Toronto and need brand photography, Liz is your girl.
Thank you.
Liz, thank you so much for your time today. I always know all of our hangouts and all of our chats are always like energy filled and they're almost like our mini mastermind. So I was like, you need to come on this podcast today. Like it has to happen. So I'm glad that we finally got to record.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Did you know that I'm not only a podcast host, but in my full-time career, I am a Toronto-based real estate agent. In 2021, I closed 100 deals. Yes, you heard that correctly, 100. So if you or someone you know is a busy professional looking to get into the Toronto real estate market and looking to work with a realtor who values your time, make sure to reach out to me and let's get connected. And in the meantime, we'll see you here back next week.